Okay, so now what I'm going to do is start with step 9. I'm going to select the uh, turquoise line that is at head height. That's our beam length. And I'm going to rotate that. So I'm going to find the center here. I'm going to pick one end. I'm going to rotate. I didn't pick up that very well. Sometimes it helps to zoom in so you can actually get where it intersects. There we go. So there we go. So now that I've got both those lines going into the cross that they are, I'm going to create an oval. So in order to do that, I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to make sure that I am in a different class. So now what I'm going to do, there's different modes here for your oval. I'm going to pick the middle one, and I'm going to go from here to here and over. Now, of course, this is not centered currently, so then I'm just going to go ahead and grab the other side of it, make sure that it comes over here. So now I have an oval that shows me what the size of this light beam spread is going to be once we get it onto the ground plan. But we're not finished yet. We have to go to normally you would label this oval as a 36 degree. This is important because later you'll forget what size it is and what its angle is. And so it talks about labeling it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use text. I'm going to say a 36 degree source 4 at 68 degree angle. That way I don't have to wonder later, right? And so first things first, I'm going to move this to a place that isn't totally obnoxious. So I'm going to grab a hold of this here. I'm going to move it over here. I want it to basically stay within the oval, and you'll see why in a second. I'm going to rotate it. All right. Also, I often make this label a gray color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to draft and I'm going to make it a gray option. Usually I have a gray option here, but I haven't worked in this document in a while. It's going to say light line. So the next thing I'm going to do is select all of this business, except for this line, which I do not need. Actually, I'm just going to delete this one. Alright, so I've got the two cross lines, I've got the circle, I've got the label. And the reason why I want these things is because I'm going to move them upwards. I'm going to use duplicate in this case, just because sometimes I leave these hanging out in free space so that if I need to check my photometrics later, I've got access to it. I don't have to redo everything. So I'm now going to pick the very center of all of this, bring it directly upright, and then I'm going to rotate. And you always want to rotate to the left, counterclockwise, because that's this distance is the longer distance is past the person, right? So you want it to be in the proper place, right? So counterclockwise rotation. At this point, I have this line that is very long. I always make another line that goes from I'm going to make sure that this goes back. That goes from the image plane of the instrument to this middle part here. So now what I want to do is I want to make sure that is selected as well as my cross, and also this label. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to group this, and you can just do Command Group or View, Modify Group, right? Bam. And now I've got a group. And the beautiful thing about this group something is amiss. This guy did not get included in the group. So I'm going to go ahead and hold that, hold this, say modify group once again. There we go. So you always want this. This point is very important. Here's why. So now I'm going to go ahead and move this whole guy. I'm going to turn duplication off because it is not necessary anymore. I'm going to bring him over to our original light, and you can see this in the final step, step 16. So I bring him over to the original light, I put him right in where that insertion point is, and then I rotate him to wherever I have designated my acting area to be. And this is where we can now duplicate this over and over again. So if I go ahead and use my duplication function, then I move it over to the next slide over, and then to the next slide over, right? Now the way that this plot is currently set up is that there's a slight angle shift. So whereas the first light is 68 degrees, the next one is slightly shallower, and the next one is slightly shallower. So if you're going to do this sort of advanced technique that I'm using as a lighting designer, you have to do, for this system, for all these 36 degrees going in this direction, you have to then do another one of these with a slightly shallower angle. So I'm not exactly sure, I don't really remember anymore what it was, but it'd be somewhere around like 56 degrees, and then the next one is more closer to 50 degrees. That way it sort of fans out across the stage, since the walls of the box set constrain where you can put lights. And it's a gentle enough and a consistent enough angle shift that the audience doesn't really notice. And so this is how we figure out photometrics. The other thing that I will point out as well that goes along with this is that these all should be put onto their own layer. So you have to create layers that have to do with photometrics. I call them P-. So this is photometric booms. And so all of these need to be placed on a totally separate layer, or they will drive you absolutely batty.